Welcome to Learn with Spy. In this video, we are going to see the types of database management system and the history of database management system. As we're going to see, we have different types of database management system. The type of database was depend based on information that was stored in database. Some of those are fully text database, document oriented database, temporal database, object oriented database, time series database, spatial database, and finally, relational database. All of these cannot be seen in our real life. Only the relational database is useful in our real life. But we can get a slight idea about these. Let's see about fully text database. The fully text database refers to a type of electronic database that provides access to complete document rather than just a bibliographic information. The second one is document oriented database. The document oriented database allows you to create multiple documents with different fields within the same collection. This can be handy when storing unstructured data like emails, social media posts, and etc. The third one is temporal database. The temporal database is a database that needs some aspect of time for organization of information. In temporal database, each tuple in relation is associated with some time. It stores information about the state of the real world and the time. The temporal database does not store information about the past state. It only stores the information about the current state. The fourth one is object oriented database. The object oriented database is the data model which the data is stored in the form of object, which are instances of the class. These classes and objects are together make a object-oriented database model. Now let's see about time series database. The time series database is a specialized database that efficiently stores and retrieves the time-stamped data only. Next, spatial database. Spatial data comprise the relative geographic information. Now let's see about relational database management system. The database management system that is used to manage the relational data is known as relational database management system. In this relational database management system, we have few tables. Each table contains some columns and the data is stored in the form of rows. Here we call them as tuples. Instead of rows, we use the terminology tuple. As we're going to see in the relational database management system, the word relation is nothing but the table. So, in the history, we're going to see why the relational database management system is most popular. Now, let's see the history of database management system. Before computer was introduced, information was stored in form of paper records. But the problem with this type of storing mechanism is we need a lot of manpower and lot of time to store the information and to retrieve the information. So later computer was introduced in 1946. They started store information in the form of punched cards and magnetic tapes. But the problem with tapes and punched cards is to provide only sequence data access. Later in 1960s, the flat file approach was introduced. In this, the information was maintained by using hard disk. Instead of sequential access, the hard disk provides random access of data. But the problem with the hard disk is storing information in the form of files can make the other users to access our files. So the disadvantage with this flat file approach is data redundancy, data inconsistency, data isolation, data security, concurrent data access anomaly, and etc. Example, we store the employee data in flat file as 101 Babu CEO and 102 Sai CEO. As to overcome the disadvantages of flat file approach, in mid 1960s, IBM develops another data model. In this data model, the files were stored in the form of tree structure. The tree structure had a single rule that A parent can have many children, but each children must have one parent. In this, we also have some disadvantages: data redundancy, system complexity, slow structure, lack of structural independence. Let's see an example. If we have a parent called department, it can have multiple children. As consider the first children as course and second child as student. So as the course can be have again multiple children and the student also can have multiple children. But if we see the parent department have multiple children and the child of the department have multiple children, but the child have only single parent. To overcome the disadvantage of hierarchical data model, the Charles Bachman has introduced the network data model, and in this the files are stored in the form of graph. It is also have a single rule that a parent can have many children and the child can have many parents. So in this also we have some disadvantages like system complexity and lack of structural independence. So let us consider a simple example. So first node as department and the second node as student and the third node as course and the fourth node as professor. So each of the nodes are interlinked with each other. And if we see the department node contains multiple children and it also contains multiple parents. So here the structure of network data model is in the form of graph. As to overcome the disadvantage of network data model, Dr. E.F. Code introduced the relational data model in 1970s. In this, we are going to store the data in the form of tables, which is also called as relations. The relationship between the tables is maintained by the values in those tables. Example, Oracle, Microsoft SQL, and Server. And after the relational database model, we also have the object oriented model. In this model, we store the data in the form of objects and methods. But the object oriented model is not efficient as relational database model. So it doesn't become popular. Later, object relational model is also introduced. In this, the data is stored in the form of objects and the objects are stored in the form of tables. And this is less efficient compared to relational database model. So it is also failed. And finally, in the real time, still now, we are using the relational database model only. Thank you for watching us.